Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 spoilers. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Nick is shaken by Sienna's call. Sharon holds on to hope, and Jack and Billy reestablish their relationship. The Young and the Restless, Friday, October 17th, 2025, episode went as follows. The Young and the Restless events. On The Young and the Restless, Billy and Jack form a bond. At the jazz club bar, Billy ran into Jack and joked that Victor might join them. But Jack emphasized that any partnership with Victor was only ever meant to be short-term. Jack asked Billy to join after he eased the atmosphere by announcing that he was new and improved. "Since my brother will not refund Abbott Communications, will he buy me a drink?" Billy asked in an attempt to lighten the situation even more. Jack hoped that they could hang out together without getting into a fight. They were adept at getting under each other's skin, and they felt bad about what they had done in the past. Billy said that he wasn't always receptive to Jack's opinions. Even though he knew his brother would always support him, things didn't always work out. Billy mentioned adopting a fresh viewpoint to prevent being overly emotional about every conflict and starting a full-scale conflict. They would never remain in equilibrium, in his opinion. But Jack hoped that they would live in harmony for a long time. Billy claimed he never spoke to Jill again after Jack shifted the conversation to his connection with her. Billy believed that Jill cared more about Kane than she ever would about him, even though they both agreed that she wasn't an idiot. That, he believed, will never change. Billy often waffled on about his own relationship with Kane, so Jack asked how it was doing. Jack remembered hearing that previously, but Billy insisted he intended to avoid Kane. Billy had a habit of vacillating on issues pertaining to his fake bro. Jack wondered why Bill was constantly changing his opinion about Kane at the drop of a hat. But Billy claimed that Kane had taken advantage of him and that his focus was constantly on the goal of regaining Chancellor. Billy reasoned that perhaps Chancellor's return wasn't meant to be. He assured his brother that he would not fall into that trap again. He gave Sally the credit and stated, "I give most of that to Sally. She's the one who helped me realize what's important. Obviously, the risk of losing her, no brass ring in the world, is worth losing that." This time, Jack thought Billy was sincere and meant what he said. Billy promised that in order for people to believe him this time, his words and deeds will align. Billy interrupted Jack as he was about to make a toast. Billy questioned Jack about if he was contacting Jill, primarily to check up on him and not just to halt Kane's attacks. Jack reassured Billy and stated in his testimony that he wanted Jill to accept Kane for who he truly was. Even so, Jack later acknowledged that resolving Billy and Jill's problems was a contributing factor. Billy felt Jill wanted him to be successful, but he also feared he and his mother would never be as close as they had been. Jack was curious about Billy's next move, but Billy informed him of the excellent news. Jack was shocked to learn that someone with the resources to invest in Abbott Communications had been located by Sally. Billy reassured him that Victor and Kane weren't the covert investors, and Sally had faith in the individual. Nevertheless, Jack's pain about being fired from Abbott Communications persisted. It hurt to be removed from Billy's corner because he was the last person there to believe in him. Billy wishes he could go back in time and reunite with Jack. Billy, though, aspired to succeed in business on his own terms. The detective in Los Angeles persisted in his belief that Noah's accident was deliberate. He didn't have much else to say, but Nick and Sharon insisted on answers. Someone ran Noah off the road and left him for dead, according to a witness. It might have taken days for Noah to be found if no one came forward. The police refused to provide Sharon and Nick the identity of the person who came forward. They were baffled as to why the name was still sealed, but he refused to change. The investigator wanted to know why Noah was in Los Angeles and what caused the collision. Since it was obvious that the incident was planned, Nick took the word accident very personally toward the detective. But the investigator told them he was trying hard to find the truth and encouraged them to wait out the inquiry. Nick reluctantly gave him their contact details when he asked for them. After the investigator left, Sharon thanked him for his best wishes, but they both thought the exchange was strange. Nick was unable to comprehend that Noah was being singled out. He saw that the detective never produced any formal identification, and he questioned why Noah was the subject of so many inquiries. Sharon was totally preoccupied with Noah's health and didn't know or care. There was nothing else that mattered, she assured Nick. Nick told Sharon he would put the investigation's specifics out of his mind, but they were distracted when Noah's phone called. Sienna Bacall, the club owner Holden introduced Claire to in Tuesday's brand new episode, was the name on the phone. Nick finally answered the phone after they argued about whether or not to do so. Nick told the person on the other end of the line who he was, but his father's response surprised Sienna. Nick demanded that Sienna disclose her relationship to Noah and the reason for her call when she inquired about his well-being. After Sienna revealed that she was a friend of Noah's, Nick bombarded her with inquiries until she quickly hung up. Nick persisted in his hypothesis that there was something strange about the call and the detective. He sensed that nothing added up. Sharon moved aside to spend some time with Noah alone, even though she knew Nick couldn't stop thinking about the call with Sienna. When Nick attempted to decipher Noah's phone code, he succeeded the first time. To find out why Noah was on that road the night of his crash, he combed through the phone. On Noah's phone, he saw 4 missed calls from Sienna, but when he attempted to call her back, she ignored him. By Noah's bedside, Sharon spoke with tears in her eyes as she recalled the times she soothed him as a child. Sharon identified the states alphabetically, just like she had done when he was a kid, but she found it difficult to stay coherent. You need to heal. Your family needs you. We need you. Ally needs you. Your dad and I need you. Please, please, please get better, she said to Noah. Noah's parents bought the story the detective claimed over the phone, adding he would give the unidentified individual Nick's number. Victoria arrived and apologized for being late, hoping she didn't interrupt anything between Audra and Nate. But Nate assured her that any interaction with Audra was a coincidence. Audra and Nate had bumped into each other in Chancellor Park and exchanged awkward pleasantries, and she was surprised to see Nate on his run much earlier than expected. When Nate asked why Victoria hadn't dressed for their planned run, she gave him the most recent information on Noah's condition. Noah's ex-girlfriend Audra asked for more details, but Victoria insisted on speaking to Nate privately. Audra objected to being fired until she was briefed on the prognosis of her ex-boyfriend, reminding them of her past relationship with Noah and asking to be kept updated. Despite Audra's well wishes for Noah and his family, Victoria refused to budge and told her that she had no information for her. Victoria said she would forward it, but Audra swore that she wouldn't, and she informed Nate that she had plans to meet Amy for coffee to continue their previous connection, and he didn't mind. Once Audra had taken off, Victoria and Nate recalled their own breakup and how civilized it had been. He asked for the true update on Noah, and she told him about his accident and the doctor's description of his severe head trauma. Nate reassured her that the best way to get the swelling in his brain to go down was to put him in a coma. He didn't think the doctors would do that if there was no hope, so Noah must have had brain activity. Victoria confirmed a dinner date with Nate, further indicating their renewed connection, and Nate gave her a pep talk to cheer her up, telling her she had a right to her feelings, even if she didn't directly face this. He was honored that she felt comfortable enough to confide in him. Although Audra's pain was obvious, she has always shown herself to be a warrior. Therefore, her path is far from over. Audra went back to the park to get a forgotten item, but the atmosphere remained awkward. Mariah rejects Tessa. Jill invests in Sally, and Noah's vehicle accident raises concerns. This is your weekly summary of the episodes of The Young and the Restless that aired from October 13th to October 17th, 2025. The Young and the Restless events. Holden introduces Claire to Sienna in The Young and the Restless. This week on The Young and the Restless, Adam and Chelsea reveled in how their article had ruined Kane's reputation in the business world. Kane hesitated to meet Phyllis's demand to hand over his AI in exchange for her help restoring his image. Victoria caved to Kyle's pleas to give him Claire's whereabouts in L.A. Claire and Holden enjoyed spending time together, including going to a nightclub where he introduced her to the owner, Sienna. Sienna shared that she didn't know where her partner, Mitch, was. Claire bristled when Kyle showed up with flowers, and she ordered him to leave her alone. Kyle opted to stay in L.A. to take some business meetings. A frantic Sharon called Nick to report that Noah had been in a horrible car accident. Nick and Sharon kept vigil at a heavily bandaged Noah's bedside. Noah's doctor recommended that Noah be placed in a medically induced coma to reduce the risk of a long-term brain injury. Detective Burrows showed up at the hospital to investigate Noah's crash, and he mentioned that a witness had confirmed that Noah might have been run off the road by another driver who'd left the scene. Nick and Sharon sensed that something was off with Burrows' questions. Nick answered a call from Sienna on Noah's phone, but she abruptly hung up and ignored Nick's return calls. Later, Burrows called an unseen person and relayed that Nick and Sharon had bought what he'd told them. Sally was thrilled when Jill decided to invest in Abbott Communications, provided Billy did not know about her involvement. Sally immediately told Billy about the financial arrangement, but warned him against confronting Jill about it. Jack and Billy made amends. Victoria leaned on Nate to commiserate about Noah's accident. Audra was irritated when she spotted Nate and Victoria sharing a close moment. Tessa visited Mariah at the Boston clinic and observed that her wife seemed to be getting worse. Tessa was devastated when Mariah refused to leave with her and told her not to visit again. Phyllis taunted that Danny and Christine's marriage wouldn't last. The Young and the Restless Friday, October 17th, 2025 episode was a mix of unfiltered emotion, family reconciliation, and sinister mystery that kept viewers riveted to their screens. Sienna's call shakes Nick, Sharon clings to hope, Jack and Billy rebuild their bond. Couldn't be a more fitting title for an episode that struck a balance between heartfelt connection and unnerving tension. While the Abbott brothers attempted to patch up years of broken trust, Sharon and Nick Newman, across the nation, found themselves sinking into greater anxiety over their son Noah's alleged accident. At that moment, a single phone call from Sienna Bacall, whose name had recently come into the lives of Holden Novak and Claire Grace, changed everything. Beneath the surface, sinister undertones suggested that the nightmare had just begun. At the Jazz Lounge, Jack Abbott and Billy Abbott shared a moment that longtime Y&R fans have waited years to see. Their relationship has always been volatile, a storm of brotherly rivalry mixed with mutual love and guilt. This time the tone was different. Billy approached Jack not as the defensive, rebellious younger brother, but as a man seeking forgiveness and stability. His joking tone, suggesting Victor Newman might join them, reminded viewers how the Abbotts have often needed humor to bridge decades of dysfunction. Yet, under the surface, their exchange carried the weight of family legacy and hard-earned lessons. Jack emphasized that his recent collaboration with Victor was nothing more than a temporary truce, a point that underscored just how little trust remains between the Abbotts, and Billy admitted he was trying to grow, confessing that he once failed to see Jack's perspective and that his past reactions had been immature and self-destructive. When he claimed to be new and improved, Jack hesitated but was clearly moved, because for once, Billy's tone carried sincerity instead of bravado. The brothers' conversation was both nostalgic and reflective, digging deep into wounds left by Jill Abbott and Kane Ashby. Billy, in a rare moment of vulnerability, admitted that his relationship with their mother would never be the same. He revealed that Jill had always seemed to favor Kane, a wound that still bled beneath his newfound maturity. The tension between Billy and Kane was reignited when Jack pressed him about whether he'd finally cut ties with his old rival. Billy insisted that he had, swearing he wouldn't repeat his past mistakes, though Jack remained cautious. The emotional honesty between them was refreshing. They acknowledged their flaws and mutual regrets, creating one of the most grounded Abbott family scenes in recent memory. When Billy credited Sally Spectra for helping him change, Jack was surprised but quietly impressed. For Billy, Sally represented the chance to build something authentic, love, purpose, and maybe redemption, without chasing a corporate crown. Their shared toast, symbolically paused by Billy's suspicion that Jack had reached out to Jill for ulterior motives, brought their reconciliation full circle. While trust wasn't fully restored, their mutual respect had begun to rebuild, brick by brick. In Los Angeles, on the other hand, the episode's emotional pulse belonged to Nick and Sharon Newman, whose storyline encapsulated the confusion and desperation of two parents trapped in a nightmare, their son clinging to life after what seemed to be a deliberate crash. The detective handling the case claimed Noah had been intentionally run off the road, but his evasive answers and refusal to show identification painted a chilling picture. Every interaction between the two grew more unsettling as the so-called officer seemed more interested in getting information than providing it, and the moment he left, Sharon and Nick's instinct screamed that something was amiss. Sharon's maternal fear was evident. Her whole focus narrowed to Noah's recovery, even as Nick's suspicions about the accident deepened. Then came the phone call that changed everything. Fans recognized the name right away. It was the Los Angeles nightclub owner who had been introduced to Claire Grace by Holden Novak. The fact that Sienna was now calling Noah's phone created an instant connection between two seemingly unrelated storylines, and Nick's protective instincts kicked in, and he answered the call. The tension in that moment was electric. Nick was deeply unsettled by the sudden disconnect, and Sharon, who was already fragile, begged him not to become paranoid. However, Nick's intuition told him that Sienna, and perhaps Holden, knew more than they were letting on. The mystery only became more complex when Nick chose to unlock Noah's phone. It was heartbreaking and tragic that he was able to guess the password on his first attempt, a father's instinct. Inside, he discovered a pattern of missed calls from Sienna in the hours leading up to the crash, but she refused to answer when Nick tried to call her back. In one of the week's most moving scenes, Sharon sat by Noah's hospital bed, and in one of the most moving scenes, she whispered through tears, naming the U.S. states alphabetically, a tender ritual she used when Noah was a little boy. The heartbreak in her voice as she pleaded with him to wake up. Please, please, please get better. Your family needs you. We need you. Ally needs you. Her unwavering love and hope made her the emotional anchor of the entire episode, even as invisible forces conspired against her family. Unbeknownst to Sharon and Nick, their fears were well-founded. In a startling turn of events, the detective called an enigmatic individual and reported coldly that they had bought the story. His words chillingly confirmed that he was not who he claimed to be, and he promised to give this unidentified accomplice Nick's phone number, suggesting that they were being watched or manipulated. The call changed the plot, turning what appeared to be a tragic accident into a purposeful conspiracy. Smaller moments occurred throughout Genoa City, but they were thematically related to the episode's focus on trust, deceit, and second chances. Victoria Newman interrupted Audra Charles and Nate Hastings' brief but intense encounter in Chancellor Park, revealing that unresolved feelings still lingered between them. Audra's frustration at Victoria's insistence on speaking privately with Nate highlighted her ongoing struggle to regain control in a world that consistently sidelines her, while Victoria's concern for Noah's condition served as the catalyst for their quiet conversation about grief and hope, reminding viewers that even in a show full of deceit, empathy can spark a renewed sense of intimacy. The episode's final shot, which hinted at the false detective's duplicity, left fans breathless with anticipation. Who was on the other end of that call? Was Sienna a pawn, an accomplice, or another victim in a growing web of lies? By the time the credits rolled, the episode had woven together a tapestry of themes that have defined the young and the restless for decades. Family, redemption, betrayal, and the haunting question of who to trust. Jack and Billy's tentative truce symbolized the possibility of forgiveness after years of bitterness, while Sharon's tearful bedside vigil represented the endurance of love in the face of despair. In the end, Sienna's call shakes Nick, Sharon clings to hope, Jack and Billy rebuild their bond, was notable not only for its emotional depth, but also for its deft narrative technique, reminding viewers why The Young and the Restless is still the most enduring soap opera on television. Every exchange carried a hidden meaning. Every tear hid a secret, and every silence hinted at an impending revelation.